inside the shadow of a dinosaur. He yanked the covers over his head and tried to... Oh, God, sorry, I'm reading a really scary story right now called Grannysaurus by David Walliams. But I know you're here for a different book by David Walliams called Codename Bananas. Now, today we are on chapter 63 and 64. We're getting close to the end, so it's very important that you start thinking about what your final project is going to be. What would you do for a cover or an advertisement for this book? Let's get started with chapter 63. Chapter 63, the most famous address in the world. After a change of clothes, a thorough interrogation of some much-needed tea and biscuits, members of the Secret Intelligence Service, M6I6, swooped into the police station. Although the whole idea of the Secret Intelligence Service was that they were secret, the fact that they wore trilby hats and Macintosh coats with the collars turned up made them a dead giveaway. "We are taking over from now on," barked one, holding up an official-looking identity card. There were more questions, more tea, and more biscuits. Then, the next thing the three knew, they were in the back of a wide black car being driven through the streets of London in a convoy at dawn. Low winter light was streaming between the buildings. The city was only just waking up. The Londoners would have had no clue about the incredible drama of last night. Most would have been asleep when the Nazi U-boat nearly killed the Prime Minister and ended up exploding in the depths of the Thames. "Where are we going, please?" asked Eric, who was squashed between Gertrude and a still legless Sid on the bank of the back seats. But the Secret Service men said nothing and just kept staring forward as if they hadn't even heard a question. Even a version of the popular hit, "We'll Meet Again," played purely by Gertrude, Eric, and Sid, blowing raspberries, failed to bring a smile to their faces. Eventually, Eric realized that the convoy was speeding through Whitehall. They passed the Centipath, a war memorial to those who had died in the First World War. Then the car took a sharp turn and came to a stop outside the most famous address in the world, 10 Downing Street. It had been home to the British Prime Ministers for more than 200 years. The door of the car was opened, a wheelchair was trundled into place for Sid, and the three were ushered inside by a butler. This was by far the most magnificent home in which Eric had ever set foot. The sweeping wooden staircase and scarlet rugs, the marble floor. They were taken into an office with a huge fireplace and an imposing wooden desk. The butler asked them to "Please take a seat." "I have already," chirped Sid, as he was, indeed, sitting in his wheelchair. Just as the security servicemen, this failed to amuse the butler, who left the room. They waited in silence for a few moments, trying to stop Gertrude from eating the telephone that was crouching on the desk. After a short while, the door opened, and one of the most famous people in the world stood in the doorway. A short, round man in his 60s, wearing a charcoal three-piece suit with a white shirt and a spotty bow tie, shuffled in. "Your Majesty," said Eric, instantly realizing he'd got it wrong. "Not quite yet," chuckled Churchill. Chapter 64, Badly Behaved Guests. The boy stood up as he might if the headmaster came into the classroom. Please, no standing on ceremony, thank you," said Churchill. "Thank goodness for that," said Sid, "because I can't. Pleasure to meet you, sir." "The pleasure is mine. And who, may I ask, is this rather delightful young lady?" asked the Prime Minister. It was a reasonable question, as it wasn't every day that he had a gorilla sitting in his office. "Oh, this is Gertrude, Prime Minister," began Eric. "We stole her." "Rescued," corrected Sid. "Rescued her from London Zoo. And from what I saw from the terrace of the Houses of Parliament last night, she helped save me, the heads of the armed forces, and the entire British government from certain death." "That's right, sir," replied Eric. "Let's not give Gertrude all the credit, though," began Sid, "as I did my fair share." "More than your fair share," agreed the boy. "Grrr," growled the gorilla in strong disagreement. So, tell me more about the dreadful Nazi plot. Eric told Winston Churchill the whole story from start to finish, how they'd rescued Gertrude from London Zoo with a barrage balloon, how they'd gone on the run from Frown, Batter, and Gnarl before escaping to Bognor Regis, where they met the evil Braun twins, how the Nazi U-boat they were bundled onto, in fact, a giant bomb. Gertrude helped with the storytelling by acting out some of the scenes, and, of course, Eric kept Sid center stage in the story throughout. Churchill followed this tale of daring do with great interest. Those dastardly Nazis! There is no end to their wretched villainy, he concluded, opening a box on his desk. Cigar? I may take one for later, if that's all right, sir, said Sid, slipping one into his breast pocket. Of course. Cigar? Churchill asked Eric. I'm only 11, replied the boy, and my mom told me never to smoke. She always said it was a filthy habit. Oh, yes. Quite. Best not, then. Gertrude, meanwhile, had other ideas. She reached her big, hairy hand into the box and snatched a cigar. No, Gertrude! Exclaimed the boy. But it was too late. The girl was munching on the cigar like it was a bar of chocolate. Munch, munch, munch. However, her face soon soured as she realized this wasn't something tasty at all. Then she began spitting out the pieces of the cigar one by one. Split, spit, spit! Chewed up lump of cigar paper landed in Winston Churchill's eye. Splurt! Oh, I'm terribly sorry, sir, said Eric. Taking it all in his stride, Churchill whipped the silk handkerchief from his breast pocket and wiped his eye. Oh, please don't worry. I've had much more badly behaved guests here at 10 Downing Street. Believe me. This broke the ice a little, and they all had a chuckle. Even Gertrude. Woo! Woo! This made the gorilla spray even more cigar over everybody. Now I have to tell you, began Churchill, that this whole Nazi plot has to remain top secret. If the British people and our allies knew quite how close Mr. Hitler got to having me and the rest of us killed, it would lower morale and hurt the war effort. Do you understand? Eric and Sid suddenly sat up very straight. Yes, sir, replied Eric. Oh, added Sid, clearly deflated. By the looks of it, he'd wanted the whole world to know about his heroism. This story will remain in the British intelligence vaults for 80 years, like many national secrets, and then, and only then, will the file finally be released. We understand, agreed Sid reluctantly. Gertrude put her finger up to her lips to mime that said, top secret. But we do need a code name for this operation of yours. Do you have any suggestions? Asked the Prime Minister. We already have one, exclaimed the boy. Well, I'm not quite sure it's quite, began Sid. Please, let me hear it, insisted Churchill. Codename Bananas, said Eric proudly. Churchill chuckled so much he nearly fell off his chair. Do you like it? Asked the boy. I love it. Codename Bananas, it is. And that's going to do it for chapter 63 and 64. Now you have your questions to answer. Remember, it's not like we just started this yesterday. Complete sentences. Do your best work. We'll see how you do. Have a great rest of your day, guys. We'll see you next time.